Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. It's Victory Monday. Welcome and well done to the Proteas, and welcome to our podcast. The Full Quota podcast is a cricket podcast, and we talk all things cricket. Myself and Tim, who's with me. Tim, how are you doing?
I've just about recovered. It took me a while. I don't know if you guys I was manning the Twitter handle and going through all sorts of emotions from everything to that's why we didn't do one straight after the game, because I would have been too angry. Honestly, I would have been way too angry if we'd done one immediately after the game. But otherwise, all good.
Yes, I was thinking about it and I was like, no, Tim, some of us have to get to work. But yeah, remember, we're Full Quota Pod. Please follow us on X. You're currently watching us on X and also on YouTube. So please do subscribe to the Full Quota Podcast YouTube channel. If you're watching us, please do subscribe. And also, Full Quota Podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify. That's our audio version for all of those who want to do audio. Reach out to myself and Tim on Twitter, or the Full Quota Podcast on X, or our YouTube admin handles if you're looking for sponsorship opportunities for this. Cool. When last we made a podcast, we were talking about how South Africa were going to make the semi-finals. We thought we'd be playing in that semi-final in Guyana with India, coming second in the group, losing. Tim said we'd lose to the West Indies. I said we'd lose to England, but we're going to beat the USA. But we needed to beat the USA by a lot. What subsequently happened was the Proteas were like, no, we take it, but we're doing it in Springbok proportions. We're going to do squeaky bum time against USA. We're going to do squeaky bum time against England, final over stuff. And then we're going to do final over things against the West Indies. But we're going to be on the right side of history this time. And they were on the right side of history, and the Proteas managing to get through that Super 8 group with that game against the West Indies this morning feeling like a quarterfinal. And they made it through. Now we have another knockout game in Taruba. I don't know where Taruba is in the world, in the Caribbean world, but we got a semi-final. And unless if India lose, then that second semi-final is a 4:30 semi-final in what is it? What is it? Guyana. So yeah, all eyes watching India right now. They're currently playing. Was it Afghanistan? No. It's who's India playing right now? Australia. Yes. Australia. Yes. Sorry. So many super aids. Yes, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, it's Victory Monday. The Proteas are in a World Cup semi-final. We're 2 wins away from being world champions. We've won 7 in a row. Now, you can't lose now. But this team has showed us a lot. And let's start with that. Tim, you posted on our social media about Tom Dawson Squibb and his being, you've always wanted a mentality coach. We've got one. Are these tight finishes and getting on the right side of these tight finishes an ode to him and his great work?
Prior to the West Indies game, which I think is a separate issue, yes, I don't think we win the England game, for example. I don't think we win the England game without Tom Dawson Squibb's influence, whether minor or significant. I happen to believe it is significant. If you look at the way that we were bowling in those middle overs in the England game, we would have lost that game. There's no doubt about it. We would not have come back as well as we did in a 19th, 20th over without Tom Dawson Squibb's influence about calm situations, about going into the fire of those tight situations where the situation is actually against you, because at that time it was very much against us. I also said at the time that I also think his influence is also on the earlier games in the group stages, but particularly as we're focusing on the Super 8s and really we've beaten England without his influence on the side. And that in the face of it actually wouldn't have made a huge amount of difference in the context of where we would have been. But it may come into play semi-final, final time.
Yeah, and we hope that it continues, because you kind of like, obviously after the England game, we sat in a situation where we won both our games. We could be knocked out by the virtue of losing to the West Indies, largely because of net run rate, and you could hear on the Twitter streets, social media, it was a tough pill to swallow, because this team, even though they haven't necessarily hit their heights from a batting perspective, this team was a world-class team, one of the top teams in the tournament, and they had deserved every win they've gotten, because there were a couple of things in this tournament where the Proteas were, and maybe this is a Quinton de Kock thing, were getting their targets perfect, right? The pass scores perfectly, they were getting there, and the one that was surprising to us was the England game, where we come out 164 and everyone's sitting there going, nah, that's 20 short. That's 20 short. Quinton at the innings break, he's like, yeah, no, that's what we want. That's a winning score. And we subsequently ended up there, right? And the captaincy of Aiden Markram throughout this tournament has been amazing in the field, right? And the fact that yesterday we only saw Kagiso bowling in over 18 and over 20, it kind of tells you, the type of thinking this team is doing, and the ability to be able to put egos aside and let guys do their thing. And that's one of the key things that's been amazing. But Tim, what I want us to do is I want us to go through the key themes in the Super 8s, right? So one of the key themes in the Super 8s throughout the 3 games was the batting is not there yet. And there's a discussion around Reza and how he manages that. And I've been taking shots on Friday. I said his innings was good and bad. The bad part of his innings was that he brought us back into a Mark Bacha-esque life, but he's averaging like less than 30. His strike rate is under 100. But the other side was, it was enabling Quinton to be able to attack. And was Quinton able to attack in the power play if we were losing wickets? And so those are the things, right? But our batting, outside of Reza, Aiden's not having a great tournament. Tristan yesterday batted well, but threw his wicket away against the West Indies. Yeah, West Indies was a reminder of times gone by, of batters getting set, wanting to taking the risk and getting out with a stupid shot. And that's been the sense of our batting, is that it hasn't fully clicked, but they've done enough with the skills that they have to get us over the line. The question I'm sitting here is, when are we going to be found out? Because every time in these last 7 games, outside of Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Netherlands, Nepal, USA, West Indies, England, same type of, these guys don't have it, but somehow we're winning games.
Yeah, look, we can't chase. It's there. We can't chase. The Netherlands, 24 for 4, and in this West Indian game, those 2 games tell you slightly differently in terms of of Netherlands, because the wickets were so quick and there was some sort of rebuild that had to happen. But still, we chased in that game. In this game, we're chased. I don't think we should have won yesterday. I'm glad we did, but I really don't think we should have won. I really think that what happened in that game was, and you've touched on it there, Aiden Markram's captaincy was outstanding in the field when the West Indies batted. Powell's captaincy was left wondering. I thought I thought I'm going to give him a little bit of an out, but because of the wet conditions, and it was difficult for the spin bowlers to bowl in those wet conditions. But I think they should have gone back to spin towards the end of the innings. I think if that had happened, they probably would have won the game. McCoy was bowling like he bowled for Paul Royals the second half of SA20, all over the place. And
look,
I actually knew with Jansen facing, I said we've won. With McCoy bowling, I said we've won. I didn't necessarily think that we were going to win with the first ball.
Six first ball, but we were going to get a boundary somewhere.
Yeah, because he was all over the place. But it's a huge issue. If I'm any of our oppositions, the semi-final or the final that we go to, if we go to the final, I want South Africa chasing, whatever it is, 120, 130, 140, it doesn't matter. Whether it's Mitchell Stark, whether it's Bumrah, whether it's Jofra Archer, whoever we're facing, I want South Africa chasing. Because if you saw the way they played against the West Indies it was an absolute cinch yesterday. It was an absolute cinch. I watched the Mitchell watch-along, and he was totally chilled after South Africa's 10 overs. He said, you know what? I'm going to have an early night. Let's think positively. And we were just unbelievable. Yeah.
Look, I think from my side, and let's talk the West Indian game because it speaks to our issues, right? One of the key things for us was I thought the West Indies wanted to chase. I think they're better chasing than setting a target, even though their aggression kind of leans towards setting and blowing teams away. And I think there were a couple of things that worked. So I win the toss, put West Indies into bat, great thing. Your best side of the ball is bowling, and you put them under pressure. You gave us a masterclass in captaincy. Aiden trying his hand, seeing it works, bowling himself those 4 overs, and knowing that you needed 12 overs of spin. Shamsi's in. Bartman's the man who's been dropped, which many people will question, but so far it's working. And obviously Kagiso bowling those final 2 overs. So I love that. 135, I sat there going, well done. That's it. Well done. Pitches that we've had as South Africa, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the ICC hates us, but those pitches aren't great. They're not great for run scoring, but yeah. From a batting perspective, this is where, and as you mentioned, I think Rovman Powell just lost it. Their gamble was Moti would get Klaasen. And what had happened was Klaasen then got Moti. And that changed the entire landscape of the game. Whereas had you given the ball to Alzari or to Obed McCoy, Andre Russell, it would have been different. And I look at that. And then we then go into a period of play where Klaasen's out now. Yeah, Moti's gone for 20. Bring him back on. I was like waiting for them. Even in the 19th over, I'm sitting there going, yes, bring him on. You are going to cause problems. Because you saw Roston chase. So I'm sitting there going, it doesn't matter where you are. You already have gotten through South Africa's core batters. Jansen's not a prolific player of spin. He likes the pace on the ball, so take it off. Even if he bowled the 20th over, it would have been fine, right? We're taking gambles now. And so to a certain extent, I think South Africa outsmarted West Indies yesterday. I think the West Indies were very naive in their bowling, and they stuck to their plans a lot, and they were found wanting. And my worry is against another team, an Australia, an India, Afghanistan, maybe you could get away with it because, it'll be the first time South Africa play Afghanistan. Well, not the first time, but Afghanistan struggle against South Africa, right? So it's just India and Australia where I sit there going, maybe we would be found out in that situation. They throw a Maxi in there, they give us an Adam Zampa, because that was a pitch where you were wanting the batters to attack you into the wind, right? Yeah. The grounds are large, you want that, and that's been the MO of this entire World Cup It's spinners are going to get wickets because you're going to attack them into the wind and you're going to get wickets. England fell into the trap, especially the Keshav Maharaj trap, right? Keshav bowled would entice them with flight, gone. And so essentially that's where it is. And I think that's how it felt. Going through it as a fan, I hated it. But the one thing I want to talk about is that Kagiso 4, that cover drive. It was set up beautifully, right? One ball left, Kagiso's on strike. We're not crossing. So it's a freebie. Either you get out or you try get for a boundary. And when you give KG that license, KG always comes through. You don't give him any other license. But it was that one. It was this ball goes to the boundary, and you managed to do that.
That's the first bad ball he bowled in his spell. He put pace on the ball, and if the one thing you don't do about it, you don't give him pace on the ball. That's what you should have flighted it.
Yeah. We got some comments here. NY Times Square says the Proteas are the only team to take promoting the game in the US seriously. He also says India will be dismantled by England. Please send through your comments. It's Victory Monday. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking of the game, of the Proteas in the Super 8s. As we just talk general topics around the Proteas. The next topic, the positive topic, is people are putting their hands up. And it speaks to the mentality side, but it also speaks to the bowling. The bowling's been superb. The fielding's been superb. It's been a level, but guys have put up their hands at different times. I look at Marco Jansen, right? I've sat here going, every time I watch the Proteas play, if I know we're going to have a good day or a bad day, is how Jansen's first over goes. Marco's improved. He's become better. Against England, he didn't have a great game, but he did come back stronger in the back end of that innings. The start of that innings, I kept on sitting there going, I don't understand why this guy's in the team. His batting hasn't become better. There's no competition at number 7. And I felt like he was playing like a player whose place was cemented. But I must apologize, Marco. I'm sorry. Apologies. I wasn't familiar with your game. I wasn't familiar with your balls of steel, with your pressure management. You were built in a pressure cooker, and you managed to get us home. So I do apologize. And your bowling, ever since I made that comment on Twitter, has skyrocketed. Out of this world. Beautiful wicket to start off with today, and just keeping the pressure on there. And to a certain extent, that's the Marco we're looking to get. And then on top of that, when all the other top order batters are like, I don't want that responsibility, you said, no, I've got this. You and Kagiso have got this. I wasn't familiar with the game. I apologize. I'm sorry. I wasn't familiar with the game, my man. Tim?
There are only two batters that can't take any blame are Klaasen and him. Klaasen because he changed the complexion of the chase, and the maturity of Jansen's innings was really, really impressive.
Yeah. The other themes. Some players I want to give a shout out to Bray Shamsi. In and out, giving that squad mentality feel. Man of the match performance in this game again. I still think Kesh has usurped him as the best spinner in this team, but he's our wicket taker. He knows how he can do it. We don't play him against India. That's fine. We understand. But everyone else in the world, he can do it. And today he reminded us of that spell where he was world number 1 bowler in T20 and he was just taking wickets left, right, and center. He gave us a glimpse of that. We hope we get more of that. There was a stat that Werner put up about Man of the Match awards. I think he's got like a similar level to David Miller in less time, which is ridiculous. 68 Man of the Match performances in 9 Man of the Match. He's got 9 Man of the Match performances in 68 games. Miller has 9 in 124. Kind of gives you an inclination of where South African cricket has gone and how important he's been over the past 5 years. And it was really good to see him come through. And it was expensive Othniel Bartman, who had a horrible over against England. And Bartman deserves a shout out too, but really, really good change to bring Shamsi in, and then also good for him to put his hand up and guide us in this very, very crucial game against West Indies.
Yeah, certainly. He certainly proved a few detractors wrong. We did say when he wasn't getting games in the group stages, we did say he would come back. I wasn't sure in terms of which game, but I knew he would come back into the fold and play. And he wasn't going to be sitting out on the sidelines for the rest of the tournament. It's a huge plus for him because he's a confidence cricketer. So to get that sort of performance in that sort of game, in that sort of atmosphere,
yes. After having been dropped before.
Exactly. It's huge. The only thing I would say to Proteas is spend a little bit less time on social media, mate. I'm sure there's lots of other things you can do. I'm sure. I really am. I love you to bits, but you know.
Shamo all the way. We never a doubt with Shamsi. Never a doubt. Another player who I think just helped us in the Super Eights was Heinrich Klaassen. I thought his knocks are not, and David Miller to a certain extent, right? David against England was imperious. He was under control, not being flustered at all. He just managed to navigate us to that 164. And I just sit there going, outside of the boundaries and outside of the sixes, David Miller can hurt you. The worst version of David Miller for an opposition is the one who's rotating strike, moving, and he seems to have a pep in his step. And yeah, I think obviously today with Roston Chase bowling and him trying to get that, it wasn't a great idea, but it took a gamble and it didn't work out. But David Miller throughout the Super Eights was really instrumental. Heinrich Klaassen, on the other hand, his value is immense. He can change the trajectory of your innings and your chase in an over, similar to a Quinton de Kock. And for me, having Quinton and him in the same batting lineup is unfair, because both of them, doesn't matter who's bowling, they can put you away. If it's your time, it's your time. And Quinton as well, who deserves a shout out. That game against England was just what we wanted, right? Also in the game against the USA, he's actually seemingly to be the batter in form for the Proteas, whereas everyone else is effectively struggling. It's a stutter. It's always game related and the like. And so those three really, really important. Really, really great guys, and they've done a great job. And I'm glad they put their hands up in the Super 8s.
Yeah, the only thing is, and we sort of touched on it, is it's not gelling in one game. But the games that they are scoring runs are absolutely crucial. Like you touch on with Klaassen there, Klaassen's runs against Bangladesh, against the USA, and against the West Indies earlier today were vital. Without those runs, I don't think we win those games. We certainly win maybe one of those three. I don't think we win all three. And it's a similar story with as you say, with Miller. Not a lot of runs this tournament, but the runs he scored in the important games have been vital. Runs against the Netherlands, it's been a really important. And I think Proteas did actually touch on this at the press conference. He's sort of right. He said, nobody's shining above everybody else. Everybody's pitching in. Whenever a game is needed for somebody to stand up, somebody's standing up. Not the team, but somebody is taking it, okay, right, this is my game.
And to a certain extent, that's what it is. And if you look at the bowling, Kagiso, he's been there. That over against the USA where he needed to take wickets, he took wickets. The thing for me that's interesting is Nortje. He's been amazing in this tournament, but he's always bowling in very favorable conditions for fast bowlers. But he's not bowling in the power play. He did bowl at the death against England, and he gave us an over. But that's the other thing for me, is that you still have that trump card in the back of the pocket of a Nortje bowling in the power plays. Having looked at what Quinton did to Jofra, I'd agree. maybe not that much. And it's interesting that Nokia still has a role in this tournament when the likes of Mark Wood and Jofra Archer are really struggling to like get themselves in. Wood effectively won't play again on these wickets, but Nokia is finding form. And the question obviously for us is between him and Bartman throughout the week. But I think Rob's made the right choice again. And same thing to Rob. I wasn't familiar with your game, but a guy like Bartman, he's carried us to the Super 8s. Doesn't mean his contribution to Super 8s wasn't great. And I thought he bowled well. Those 5 full tosses, which is 5 full tosses in a sequence of over 100 balls he's bowled in this tournament, and they don't mean much. He mustn't. I hope he doesn't think that over is what cost him a spot in the game against the West Indies.
Well, I think what was important about that in when they talked about it after the England game, I think it was Aidan Markham. He said, "We trust our bowlers. We trust them to bowl what they think is their strength." So obviously, Bartman's strength is to bowl
Yorker lefts, yeah.
That is his strength. Everybody gets it wrong. Even the best players get it wrong from occasions, and he got it wrong. He got it really wrong, and it could have cost us the game. But again, I think he may come back. It will be pitch dependent. If we have a pitch like we saw today, then obviously he doesn't come back. There's no. If we saw that pitch, then Tabrez is going to play throughout. But if there's going to be a slightly more drier, harder pitch, there's no reason why he can't come back into the side. It'll be interesting to see who for. That is going to be interesting if he does come in.
Do you still keep okay? Let's hold that conversation until the end, right? Because I think we've got a few more things to get through, right? The one other thing I want to talk about that's a positive is Markram's captaincy. Another guy, I need to apologize. I wasn't familiar with your captaincy game, Aidan. Your batting is a little getting there, needs a little pep in the step, but many believe that you are going to lead us to the promised land in either the semi-final or the final. So we looked at that. We also look at that 100-run partnership that you had with Quinton. Well done. That was really good and really enjoyed that. But your captaincy, your field, your thinking, your field setting, your gut feel and making decisions. Aidan's has been just amazing. He's been bar none one of the best captains in the tournament, right? And you see that with the results. You see that with the tight games. His choice of who's going to bowl the final over, who's going to do this. The fact that when Bartman went for those expensive overs, he gave the final 2 overs to Marco and to Anrich, and he left Kagiso aside. Had we lost, people would be like, why wouldn't you go to Kagiso? And so it was that, and he's always on the right side of the decision, and to a certain extent we'll give captains props when they're on the right side of the decision. If they're not, we'll be here vilifying you. But for that, kudos, amazing captaincy. Long may that continue, because I think that's the other secret saucy, that could take us into the finals.
Yeah, it's been vital, and it's been good to see that the batting failures, which I think there are, I think he has failed as a batsman in this tournament, haven't affected his performance as a captain. We did touch on it. At that West Indian game, I thought he got everything right. He brought on Tabrez at the right time. That was a difficult time to bring on Tabrez. 66 for 2. Bit of a partnership with the West Indies. It could have gone ugly. If that over had gone for 12, 13, 14, it could have been ugly. It really could have turned. By the same token, you don't want to bring him on in the 15th, 16th over that West Indies are throwing everything at the kick and the kitchen sink at the ball. So I think he got that right. He's got a lot right as captain in this tournament. Bringing himself on to Nicholas Purant, working on his ego, masterstroke, absolute masterstroke, at a vital wicket at an early stage of the chase, of the set, the West Indies set. He's been excellent, really, really good. I just hope now that those performances rub onto his batting. So we see just a little bit of his batting expertise towards the end of the tournament. That would be nice.
And his in his defense, and I don't know why I'm defending Aiden. He's got many people defending him. In his defense, the pitches haven't been great. They haven't been good for scoring, especially through the wicket. But yeah, we'll see. And moving to the semi-final, we don't know right now who the semi-final opponents are yet. Could be Afghanistan if Australia lose. But it looks like we're going to be playing in Trinidad, in Tarouba. And that's going to be quite an interesting pitch, because I think the only game that was completed fully with two sides batting 40 overs was West Indies against New Zealand. And I think West Indies set 150 for New Zealand in 20 overs with this batting lineup that they have. And New Zealand only managed to get 135. So it could also give you a semblance of it being a hard pitch to bat on, or tricky-ish. Maybe you need another spinner. In there, West Indies play two spinners anyway. So actually three, with Roston Chase, Moti, and Akil Hussain, who actually they should have actually. I'm not going to go back there. Tim, what are you expecting in that semi-final? Let's say if it is against Afghanistan, because I think it might likely be Afghanistan over Australia.
Yeah, look, I hate this because I'm supposed to be the pessimistic side of the podcast. So we should win that game.
Yes.
Regardless of the pitch, regardless of how things are mentally, regardless of the C word coming around, we should be winning that game, whether we are chasing or whether we are setting. It will not be easy. It will not be easy if it's going to be spin friendly. But if we're honest, our bowling lineup should be able to nullify anything they are able to do in terms of their batting. I think we might struggle with the bowling. I think their bowling is right up there, particularly on these conditions. But we really should be winning that game. We really should.
Yeah, look, if you look at Afghanistan and their strengths, right? It's that opening partnership, which is pretty cool. Well, not pretty cool, but have been quite destructive, and they've been able to put Australia. It's Ramanullah Gulbaz and Ibrahim Zadran who've been part of this Afghanistan team for the past 6 years. But then after that, Omar Zai, Janat, Rashid Khan, Muhammad Nabi, Gulbuddin Naib, they're only there if they have a foundation. So it's like a team that plays Mark Bacha cricket, right? These two need to stay in as long as possible. Doesn't matter if you can get a lot of drop balls against them. That for me is the key. But if you get an early wicket and you break that partnership, that middle order hasn't come to the party. And that's something that South Africa can always look to, regardless of what happens when we bat. I'm just worried that Afghanistan have a tendency of making a small target into the largest target in the world. And that for me brings me back to the old adage of South Africa and World Cups against Bangladesh, against Sri Lanka, against teams that have just spin. Nepal in this tournament. Nepal made that target seem like it was 200. And they bowled like it, right? And they put us in a whole lot of trouble. And that for me is my worry, is with our batting lineup, a little fragile. Guys have put in their hands here and there. And the aggressive nature of Quinton and you needing to score on the power plays, how are we going to navigate that? Yes, Clausen plays spin well, which is great. Miller's also very good. We've got a lot of great guys that we should win this game. But against Nepal, nobody arrived. And so for me, that's the worry. I'm worried because I know Afghanistan can embarrass me. They've embarrassed Australia. They can definitely embarrass South Africa. And it would be a story for the ICC, Afghanistan and India in a final, because I don't think England's going to make it through, and that would be just wild. But obviously, it's dependent on what happens in their game against Australia. Do you think we'd prefer to play Australia or we'd want Afghanistan?
Afghanistan every day of the week. Afghanistan every single day of the week. If it was Australia's Club 11 that nobody's ever heard of, we would rather have Afghanistan.
Yeah.
That mental part that's gonna interfere with us.
Yeah.
We have this block against Australia. We really do. When it comes to World Cups, we have this block. I really.
You don't want to face Australia. You don't want drama again.
No.
You don't want 99 happening again.
I'd love, but it's a terrible thing to watch. I'd love a totally warped idea because of how this World Cup has been favoured towards India. I'd love India to miss out of the semi-finals. There is a mathematical equation that happens, but it's so unlikely. That would make my World Cup almost as much as us winning it.
India currently 131 for 3 against Australia in 11.4 overs after 20.
Yeah. They're winning that game, aren't they? Yeah. They're winning that game. So that's my theory out the window.
Yes. Look, but Australia's batting. Don't write them off. But my thing is, if Australia do win, net run rate goes in their favor, and Bangladesh, like the only way Australia can survive this, right, is if they beat India and then Bangladesh provides the most incredible upset against Afghanistan to beat them. Then Australia are in, but then India are not out. So you need Afghanistan to win actually and beat Bangladesh badly, and then for Australia to beat India also badly. But I don't know how it's going to work. But you never know. Cricket is a funny game, and like as we saw today, 1 over 20 runs changes the complexion of an innings and moves the team from losing to winning. And so that's the thing. And obviously, the way this World Cup is set up is that if India qualify for the semi-finals, they get to play in Barbados. Well, no, in Guyana at 4:30 on Thursday afternoon. But now South Africa then have to play the night before at 2:30 a.m. To qualify. So for the final. So it's just weird. But the final at least is Saturday at 4:30. That's going to be great. It's going to be fun. We'll be world champions. I think I'll be too drunk to have a reaction pod straight after the World Cup final. If we win, I'll be out in the streets with the people. I'm a man of the people, Tim. I'm a man of the people. And I'd be.
I'm sure we could.
I'd be there with them.
If we could have a video clip of that would suffice.
No, we'll have that. But yeah, this team's. Let's have a chat. Let's to close this off. Coach Rob Walters really made some really tough decisions coming into the World Cup, leaving Rassie at home, not taking Vian, taking one all-rounder, putting all the faith in Marco, that's seemingly coming through to be repaid, giving Othniel his opportunity with a few starts, but rewarding form. Following with Riza, who hasn't played well. It hasn't been the best of tournaments for Rob, but the decisions he's made have backed him up. Keeping Quinton, Rickleton on the bench. The only thing that we can say is people want Rickleton in for the semi-final. I say no. What do you say?
I said yes. I say he should have played against the West Indies. I put the team out there. I think it should happen. I've always wanted South Africa to break away from this conservative approach. Now, I'm not saying Rob is being conservative in his team selections. He certainly hasn't. You don't picking 3 spinners plus Markram in your squad. It's not conservative. It's not a conservative approach. But I do think potentially that is putting too much pressure on Quinton, who is at the moment flying at the moment. And I don't think Riza was fine for those couple of games. I don't think he wasn't scoring runs, but he looked like somebody who was, to me, in reasonable touch. He was just happening to get out early. But to me now, he looks like a man who is low in confidence, low in self-belief. he looks like he's struggling. He really does look like he's struggling, which is a real shame because this is one of those World Cups where he's been given the responsibility. He's been given the long run. He's been given the games. He's been given he hasn't been dropped at the halfway mark where he could have been. In other World Cups, he has been. But if I'm the coach, I'm picking in Ryan. It might be the similar situation. Somebody who hasn't played a lot of cricket recently might get a similar sort of result, but it's where I would go. I don't think there's any downside with how Reece is at the moment. I don't think there's any downside in playing Ryan at all.
Look, the way I see it, I think it's. I'm not willing to take the gamble, but the reasoning for me, if you did, would be this. Ryan would then present a situation where you would tell him to play freely, to play within himself. That necessarily his wicket isn't a throwaway wicket, but he's effectively being a pinch hitter in a place where, in a power play where fielders are in the ring. So the idea is hit up, hit high, hit up, and be as aggressive as you can with Quinton to get us through. Should Ryan lose his wicket, Aiden comes in, we will go back to normal business, right? Because these pitches are tough to score on. You need to maximize the power play, and I think that's the way I would do it, right? But on the other side, Reza can just self-same do it by you giving him a different outlook on the way he needs to bat. And I kind of feel they've been pressing in this whole wickets. We need to keep wickets up front because we've only got the 6 recognized batters. And I think that's where the thing is. And you lose the premium because it puts a lot of pressure on everyone else if you bring Rickleton in for that play free, that natural game. But I think you should give him a chance because the issue is it's a World Cup semi-final. And Rickleton will probably be playing against either Australia or Afghanistan. He's played Australia before. That's fine. We understand that. Get that. And the pressure just on Australia semi-final, I don't want that on Ryan because he's a newbie. Against Afghanistan and their mystery spinners, I'm just setting Ryan up to fail. I'd rather go with the guy who's the incumbent and let him go. And there's no reason why I'm going with Reza, even though I know I want quick runs in the power play. The issue for me, our opportunity was the game against the USA. You play Ryan against the USA. If Ryan fails there, you play Reza against England and West Indies, and maybe you get a different answer. But if Ryan succeeds against the USA, you then continue that up until. But that I think we missed the chance then. I didn't think they were going to play him against West Indies because of you don't want to break something that's good because you're a winning team, and to a certain extent that's where South Africa is going. And I think I'd be surprised if I saw Ryan in the team sheet. It'd be wild. It'd be very, especially if you got off like a few runs. It'd be weird. Yeah. But yeah, there'd be a lot of drama there.
I agree with what you said there. I don't expect it. Let's put it that way. I really don't expect it. I expect it only rotation between Bartman and Proteas, and that's pitch dependent. Otherwise, I expect everybody to be the same. That's what I think will happen, and I understand it. I do understand it. But as we've seen previously, teams that go all the way make massive calls. Teams that go all the way drop their senior players, drop the guys who have been there for years, and for whatever reason are not firing. And they bring in the new guy. They bring in the new fresh guy. They take that risk, and it works. They go all the way. It comes off. They win the World Cup. But as I say, I don't expect it to be happening. It would be very un-South African if Ryan plays. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, I think we've reached the end of the show. NY Times Square says it's an England-SA final. Do you think England beats India, Tim?
I hope so. I hope so in that context. I really do. it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because I think that I don't, as I said before, I said a few weeks ago, I don't rate this England side. In this format, I don't rate them. I don't think they're all that special. They've got players that can win you a moment. They can turn a game over because of their incredible talent across formats. But in this format, I don't actually rate them all that highly. They rely too much on the individuals that I've talked about, Phil Salt, Adil Rashid in particular. The best team, there's no doubt about it, the best team at the moment is India. If you want the team that is the best team in the world, in this format, in this World Cup at the moment, it's India.
They're currently 155 for 3 after 14 overs against Australia. It's a bloodbath over there. But who can forget that catch on Phil Salt, Reza Hendricks, the fielding? This team is just amazing. And if there was a team to upset India in the final, which is what I want, it's this one. These men have shined on Indian shores in the IPL for years for these Indian teams and the Indian fans on that subcontinent. Surely it's time now for Quinton de Kock, Aiden Markram, Heino Klaassen, David Miller, Tristan Stubbs, who's the newest kid in the block for the Daily Capitals, Kagiso, Anrich, to come and Marco, and to come and beat their teammates, guys they have built bonds with, guys who've made them so rich, and take a World Cup off of them. That would be amazing. Tim, do you have any last things that you want to talk about with the Proteas? Outside of that, the semi-final is either 2:30 on Tuesday morning, and if India don't make the semi-finals, it'll be 4:30 2:30 on Thursday morning. If not, 4:30 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. I don't know how ICC messed this up, but yeah, I've never seen a tournament being devoted to one part of the world.
I've got a solution. Have all of the World Cups in India. Have every single one of in India, and have India lose every single World Cup. Because they don't win World Cups. So that would be the solution. No, look, that is going off topic. You're right. It's madness. World Cups should be for the host nation, whoever that is. That should be for the host nation. But we know why. We know why it is. We know why it is what it is. In terms of South Africa, okay, boys, let's put one complete performance together. One complete performance puts you in the final. I don't think you need a complete performance in that final, because a moment could win it in the final. A moment, an individual, a spell of bowling. But I do think we need a complete performance. Batting, bowling, fielding. We've had aspects of it in games. We've had one, we've had the other. We've had 50% of this and 50% of the other. Let's have one complete performance, whoever we are playing in the semi-final, and prove to the world that we are worthy of making a final.
Yeah, AB de Villiers believes that we haven't played our best cricket, and our best is yet to come. And I'm going to leave you with that. This week's a big week for the Proteas. They mustn't think too much about it. It's just a normal 2 games that need to be won. The only thing they need to be worried about is that they got you without playing their best cricket, but they're going to be required to get through this week by playing their best cricket. We believe that they can do it. We've seen it. This is the best batting lineup in the world. Better than India's. Much better than India's. And this week, we're going to have to show the world. And we've been here before many times, but this is the time we get over it. We went to the place where the Bermuda Triangle is, and we bamboozled other teams, and we weren't the ones who got bamboozled. So, just wish them all the best. Guys, we'll be back. Depending, if we get knocked out on Thursday, we might do an emergency pod. If not, we'll be back on Monday for another Victory Monday. This will be a special Victory Monday. Or we'll be crying, but I'm more Victory Monday. Proteas, we want Victory Monday again. And Saturday and Sunday. Do what the Springboks did. It's giving Chasing the Sun vibes. People are now getting invested. That's what we need to do. And if you go get the Proteas jerseys, go find a place where you can watch the game. Obviously not at 2:30 a.m. because India, but we can for the final. Find a place. Go have a bar with friends. The game starts at 4:30. We're done by 8. Either you just keep on drinking because you lost, or we'll be drinking because we won until the end of it all. But yeah, please do be safe. Good luck to the Predators. I'm so excited. I think this team is giving us something different to other World Cups. This team feels like we've scrambled our way into the spot rather than necessarily being the best team to the World Cup. And even last year when we got to that World Cup semi-final, it was a little scrambly, but there was hope. And you kind of felt like if they got certain things right, it will work. And it is a lot of the in-game things. And in this World Cup, those in-game things have become a lot more clearer and evident. And yeah, I'm just excited. I don't know, Tim. I don't know. Next time we do a podcast, we could be world champions. I don't know. I'm excited. I hope you are
Let's
too.
hope so.
Thank you.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Thank you for joining. Remember, please do subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to 20 people, go to YouTube, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter if you're following us on Twitter and watching this on Twitter. But most likely, just good luck to the Proteas. Send your love. Get your jerseys going. I'm planning on going to work on Thursday in my jersey. I'm not wearing it today. I've got other things I need to look a little corporate-y. But yeah, we haven't been sleeping for this, but let's make the most of it. Good luck to the Proteas. Cheers, Tim, and thank you, everyone. It's goodbye and lesale kakagiso.